My name is Mike Kaselniak. I'm the CPA Flight Safety Chair, and tonight's topic is Runway Stats, Advanced Airport Traffic Data Analysis. We have with us tonight Mr. Justin Anderson. He's the founder of Runway Stats, and he currently lives in Breckenridge, Colorado. He did flight instructing at Embry Riddle University in Florida. Justin has flown a range of aircraft, including Beechcraft Barons, Cessna 402s, Learjets, and Gulfstreams. He has competed in aerobatics, has owned and rebuilt 3 airplanes, and continues to flight instruct when he can. He is now a Boeing 737 captain based in San Francisco. Justin and his wife run a small T-hangar rental business in Kremling, and he is a member of the Grand County Airport Advisory Committee, where the idea of Runway Stats was born. Recently, the Colorado Department of Transportation emphasized that future project requests should be justified with data. Runway Stats provides the essential data airports need to enhance their funding opportunities, improve safety, and manage noise impacts on surrounding communities. After collecting data for Kremling for 3 years and continually refining the software, he officially launched Runway Stats systems earlier this year. Just a side note, if you'd like to receive Wings credit for this presentation, please email me at flightsafety@coloradopilots.org. Now I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Justin Anderson. And Justin, thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, so we were this idea was born in Kremling. I was new to the airport advisory committee up there, and we were talking about funding back in the day. And being a GA guy all my life, we all want nice airports. We want nice pavement, nice hangars, nice lighting. So we were talking about funding, and I said, well, how do we get the funding for these airports? And they said, well, we got to get these operation counts. And then I said, okay, well, how do we get the operation counts? And they said, well, we kind of just guess and we write it down. And I said, okay, well, what happens if we guess and we guess a little bit low and the guys down the road guess a little high? And they said, well, they probably get the funding. And so that's kind of where the idea was founded. We want to promote aviation, the little guys, the GA guys. We want the small airports to get the funding they need to really, provide a nice atmosphere for all their base customers, for all the transient customers. We want Colorado to be a premier aviation destination. So that's where this was all kind of based on. Since then, it's transformed a little bit. It's gone from that to a lot of the airports have noise issues, particularly Boulder and Longmont area, Rocky Mountain. We all know that. So we have a lot of features in there that can help on that front, and then there's some safety features in there as well, and that's kind of where we're at now. The CDOT and other states as well, but the CDOT they're on the forefront of a lot of these programs in aviation, like our camera setup, our AWAS setup, all those things. So now this is kind of the next frontier for those guys. And CDOT will be funding these systems for every public airport in Colorado coming up next year. That information to the airport should be coming out in early November, but these systems will be funded. Most airports will most likely have a system like that, and that's to protect their investment more than anything. They fund tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to all of our airports, and they want that money to be spent efficiently, and that's where it really comes down to for them. So based on that, I can share my screen, Mike, if that's doable, and I can kind of show you a demo of the system, and then take some questions, or we can talk about it. So this is one of our main pages. We have a system at Eagle, so this is Eagle's page. This is what we're looking at for today's date. And today's operations, they have 61 operations. You're also able to filter all this data. So you could filter it via local transient aircraft. You could filter it, and only if you only wanted to see jets, for example, you could filter it via turbofans, turbojets. Turbo shaft is usually all the helicopters. Any real way you wanted to filter it, you can filter this data. Also, we give the airports and the operators a chance to download this to a CSV file if they want to do that. You can also search if you want to search for a particular airplane or owner or type or whatever you would like. You can do that. We have a scheduled page. Obviously, Eagle's got plenty of scheduled arrivals with all the airlines and the big GA guys going in there. This is all their arrival data. This is the hourly statistics on their arrivals and departures. Another big page we have is this analytics page. This is one of the biggest used pages that we have. Again, we're looking at Eagle, for example. This is last week. So we got an operations count. We have landings, takeoffs. It's split up between all the operations that you could possibly use. Runway usage, aircraft type, engine type, weight class, local transient. And then for the smaller airports, a real good kind of data point that we like to point out is this overnight aircraft. So for example, Eagle had 25 airplanes spend the night last week for a total of 28 nights. And that was based on their non-based aircraft. So this is only transient aircraft. Time of day usage for the airport, day a week usage. We use this in Kremling and for a lot of times, the airport goes down for a day. Maybe you're restriping the runway or you're repaving the ramp or this or that. And so now we can do that at a point where there's less usage and have less of an effect on operators there. Your 10 most frequently operated owners, or actually aircraft there. You have year-to-date charts. So for some reason, single inch is not coming up, but there's your year-to-date chart. And so we started with them in very, very late February. So you can kind of see March pop up. There's how they're, and this kind of stays the same throughout the year. May is a little slow, mud season here, and then you get the summer months, and then it'll kind of do this curve up for December as well. And this can be tweaked for if you want all aircraft. Maybe you just want to see the weight class distribution. So you could see that as well. And then you got year over year charts. And so let me pull up Kremling for the year over year charts. We have 3 years of data for them. So there's their year over year chart. You can kind of see the growth. For them, the jets bring in all the money. So this is kind of their jet growth. They did pretty good this year. They're outpacing last year by quite a bit, especially in September here. We did really well. So that's nice to know for the airports, for the operators. We do have reports. These reports, I can send these out to everybody if you'd like, but there's enough data here to put you to sleep for a few nights reading through these multiple pages of reports here. Some of our cooler features, we got a live view page. Let's pull up Boulder. Boulder's usually got some people flying around. So it's exactly what it says it is. It's a live view page. All these guys are there currently. Down here you have the METAR and the weather just break down real quick. It's VFR down there. Also, what we do is we capture the comm radios. So we can turn on the comm radio here, and if Boulder had somebody on the Unicom right now, we would hear that as well. On this live view page, we can pull up the last couple operations that Boulder's had. Make, model, owner. This little symbol over here is whether or not they're based there. So we see this DA-20 here. He's based there. He was the last one to operate in and out of Boulder. This playback page, kind of really cool. This is one of our pages that we've developed for noise mitigation, noise investigation. Hopefully you don't have any incidents or accidents, but if you did, this would be a great page to come to. It's essentially that live view page historically. So for example, if we wanted to see earlier today, that's the 22nd, we could scroll back to say 10:28 in the morning. And this is that live view, but for 10:28 in the morning. This is the weather. Oh, sorry. There we go. This is the weather for 10:28 in the morning. And then again, we can capture those comm radios if we wanted to listen to them at 10:28 in the morning and see what was going on. Each one of these planes is selectable, so you can come up here and select that plane. You got the tail number, speed, altitude, track. If you select it again, you're going to get a little bit more information. What we're really trying to do is not really, big brother stuff, but what we find with this is good data really. Sorry, glider release. um, Good data really trumps bad noise complaints or any other incident reports from surrounding data. For example, if you had a noise complaint from the same guy over and over and over again, which we have at a lot of these airports, we see these noise complaints actually coming down in volume. And the reason being is that, now Bob that has complained for 1,000 times, for example, says, well, somebody buzzed my house and it happened to be right here. And we can go, okay, yeah, this plane, Bob, it was a Piper. It wasn't a jet. He didn't go over at 50 feet. He was at 7,300 feet and he's only doing 112 knots. We appreciate your complaint and your, attention to all this, but we have the data. We have a system now to protect the pilots from these complaints that we seem to get quite a bit. So we picture it that way more than the big brother kind of aspect of things, right? We picture it as we're protecting the pilots, we're protecting these airports, and we're trying to be good neighbors. When he does call and complain, or somebody else complains, now they felt like they've been heard. They felt like we have a system in place. We're protecting. We're trying to work with the community, and that's really where a lot of this stems from. Um, so we really have. I think we have a good neighbor policy with these types of systems, especially with this one and the playback view. Another big thing for the playback view, or for the good neighbor kind of thing, is these heat maps. I had one pulled up. For example, Eagle, we can look at Eagle for maybe the last, let's try 30 days. It'll take a minute to load, but essentially the hotter the color, the more traffic is over that area. And so what we'll see is a really quick overview of where the traffic is. And again, this traffic is all filterable. So we want to just see the jets. We want to just see the people that are based there. We just want to see, one guy that flies in and around the airport all the time. We can do that. We can filter it by altitude, all sorts of things. So this is what Eagle looks like. We can kind of see the arrivals. There's two different arrivals down both of these. This is the straight in, kind of over this hill here, and then this is down the canyon. We can see both their patterns. They like to use that one on the south side quite a bit more. And then here's the departure corridor. This is all the jet traffic kind of coming out that departure corridor there. And each airport is a little bit different. We can zoom in. We can see hot spots on the taxiways. We can see where the traffic's taxiing. For example, this taxiway right here is not used real often. It makes sense. Everybody kind of goes down to the end. We can see all the traffic going in and out of these hangars. Here's the Air National Guard guys. For example, down here, I think there's another taxiway doesn't get used a whole lot. So really, really good aircraft or airport usage data there. Salida is one of our airports. They have a really interesting really interesting set of data. I think it's back in May is when we pulled some of this. But we'll apply this, and what it shows is there's a couple things. One, we see the pattern, right? And we see it being south of the airport. It would really be nice. This is Poncha Springs, I believe, and this is the town of Salida. If they slid that pattern to the north, right? If they started getting complaints, which I don't think they get a lot, but if they slid that pattern to the north, there's nothing up here. And so I think that's a pretty good idea for them. Um, as we zoom in, we can kind of see that there's a hot spot here, and that's understandable if you know that airport at all. People land on this runway on 24 here. They taxi in this direction. If they want to take off on 24, which is the prevalent runway, they taxi out that direction. It's the same spot. And so I believe they have funding for next year coming up to extend this. And they got that extension before we had data for them, but this truly does justify an extension for that taxiway there. Also, what we see is nobody uses this taxiway at all. And so every once in a while we'll see somebody use it, but not very often. So, you know, if you wanted a project to happen and you told the state, hey, we want, an extension on the runway, or we want new blast fence or new ramp or whatever it may be, and you came to them and had your airport say, hey, by the way, we will give you back this taxiway and we don't need it funded anymore. I think that goes a long way in helping, the good policy between us and the DOT. So just kind of interesting data on those heat maps. For them, you can kind of see how they leave the canyons. A little bit of blue here, a little bit of blue there, and every once in a while you get a fire. You're going to see a hot spot somewhere where a helicopter was circling for a while. We developed this for the DOT themselves. They wanted a page they could see all at once. And so what we did was develop this page. It's basically going to show all of Colorado to the DOT all at one time. The size of the circle really it shows the number of operations. So Fort Collins, they do obviously a ton of flight training up there. So they got a big circle. And then the pies are defined by however you would like. So for example, like user category. So you want to see air taxi versus GA versus general aviation. You can see that all at one glance. So kind of cool data for the state. This data page also, if anybody was involved with their airport management, um, these were the questions on the economic impact study that the airports got this year. Things like local GA ops, itinerant ops. They're tough to answer, for these little airports by themselves. And then you get the other questions, and we haven't quite worked out the algorithm for these, but they wanted out of state GA ops, meaning the last airport they touched was outside of our state, and then they wanted average seat count out of state GA ops, which we have the data. We'll end up getting this done, but there is absolutely no way that we should be spending money as a state on a question that says average seat count for out of state GA ops. It's not even guessable in my opinion. So if we really want good data, I think these are the way to go. Another, I guess, the last kind of cool feature that we have is, we'll look at Eagle again, is these tracking areas. And so we can track analytics and we can get notifications based off of these areas. So for example, if I wanted a text message every time somebody taxied over that runway, we can do that. These are just example areas that I set up. But for example, if this was a noise sensitive airport or a noise sensitive community, we can draw that on our page. We can go to our notifications. This is the one that I've set up here, this noise neighborhood. When you add this, it comes up something like this. I named it noise neighborhood. I want to know from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. over that noise sensitive neighborhood that I just drew, if anybody goes from 0 to 500 feet, I want to text. And again, not big brother stuff, but more protecting the community. If somebody says they buzzed your house, you can immediately say, no, they didn't. And that's kind of where we went with this. And so you save this, you can get a text or an email to whatever contact you want. For example, maybe you just wanted to go to the FBO, not you. You can set that up. And now that notification within 30 seconds of somebody busting that airspace, we know about it. Again, the more that we run these features, the more that we run all of this analytics, the more protected we think that our pilots are. And that's kind of where we come at all this from. And yeah, that's the system. That I guess the last portion is this based aircraft. It's just a standard based list. It helps the aircraft or the airport managers keep tabs on that. They have to report this every year. That's changing a little bit, but this gets them all that data via transient or based aircraft analytics. So in a real short time, that's the system. I'm open to taking any questions or talking about it more. If anybody's got anything to add or tell me what they think, I'd be happy to hear it.
Justin, this is Mike. There's one question in the chat so far.
Sure.
Is the multiple airport feature available to all users?
Right now, I see that's Brian. Right now, it's yeah, we turned it on if you have multiple airports assigned to you. I can assign Brian, I can assign you another airport and get you on that, or I can just turn it on for you if you'd like.
Cool. How do you handle, I know because of the noise situation here in the Front Range, a lot of the GA planes are not allowing their N number to be identified on certain apps. How can you do that with this system, or how does that work?
So there's a few ways. If you have a UAT transponder, if you have a UAT ADSB system, you can put it in anonymous mode.
Okay.
If and that should go on and off with the airspace that you're in. If you're in anonymous mode, um, we we know you're a single engine, we know you're there, but we don't know who you are.
Okay.
So there's that. The other way of doing it, sometimes, for example, with my airplane, I fly around and I've applied to the FAA and said I don't want my information public. And that's how I fly. It's kind of a split deal because I have a business that tracks airplanes, but when I fly around, I don't want to be tracked. Uh,
Right.
so um, my information on like FlightAware or ADSB Exchange is not allowed to be published. The way it works with us is that we don't publish our information. It's not a public service. It's available to the airport managers, to whoever is subscribed to us, um, whoever has that system installed. But as far as the general public, they don't have access to that data.
Okay. So I, as a GA pilot, I can't go to the airport manager and say, "Hey, show me the data for the last 30 days" or something like that.
You can try. You can definitely ask him. The way, if we drill down a little deeper, Runway Stats owns the data.
Ah,
The airport managers will eventually be paying for access to that data. And so we structured that just for this reason, so that it is our data to own. We have control over it. We don't publish it anywhere else. And if the airport manager decides he wants to give you access, then that's his prerogative. Um, but in reality, we own it, and that it would be a tall ask for us to divulge any of this information.
okay. A question on the chat that just came up at my airport. That would be a public records request through the county clerk, like a FOIA request,
Right.
because we're saying,
Yeah, and so that FOIA request technically would have to come our direction at some point.
Okay.
The runway stats. It's not a. It's you have access to the data. You don't own the data. The airport
Okay.
don't own the data.
Okay. Just last week, just for the heck of it, I ran a split screen on my computer. On one side, I had ADSB data, and on the other side, I had Flight Radar 24. And on the Flight Radar 24, it didn't give me the N numbers, but the ADSB side of the screen did. So I was like, oh, that's kind of odd. I figured, if the the pilot or the owner of the aircraft didn't want to publish, I didn't know how ADSB was able to publish it, and Flight Radar 24 didn't. So that was kind of
Somebody, yeah. One of them is, I would say abiding. I don't know if that's the right word. Abiding by that rule or that what we agreed to when we implemented ADSB, and the other one is not.
okay.
That's
Mhm.
that's bottom line, and it's public data. I'm not for that. Again, I fly around with my airplane in private mode, per se, and I don't want everybody under the sun knowing where I fly.
Yeah.
So, um, that's the way we structure it, the way we do.
Okay. Um, I did see that in an AOPA article that they want to use the ADSB data for um, landing fees, and
Mhm.
that's not what it was meant for. It was meant for
No,
safety.
unfortunately, I think that's the way it's going. We're not pursuing that actively. We will if the airports um, want to auto charge people, auto bill people. That's their prerogative. We do supply data, or we will supply data to some of those billing uh, companies, but that's not what we were. That we weren't in the game for that. I think Florida's having a big issue with that. I think some of us have seen the AOPA articles on that. That's a different company. They're actively going after all those airports in Florida. I think that's terrible for aviation. We already pay our taxes. We support these airports already, being that they're county owned, and I would like to see it stay free. But on the other hand, um, some of the bigger airports, I can see where they can get away with that.
Okay. Another question that is on there is Runway Stats using their own receivers like PI Aware.
So we PyAware is kind of is the freebie from FlightAware. Um, that's how FlightAware gets all their data. We have our own stuff. We developed it from scratch. It's the PyAwares are pretty tiny boxes. Ours is about the size of a shoebox. Um, there's battery backups in there, multiple internet connections in there. We're getting both the comm radios and the ADSB receivers in there. There's quite a bit of hardware in all of our boxes. So yes, we use our own stuff there.
Okay. I'm gonna give you one more question, and then I'm gonna open it up to the floor because I think I'm hogging the whole thing. But I'm quite impressed with that little demonstration that you gave us. I didn't
Thank you.
realize the capability that you developed. That's amazing. The little pie charts and all the data. I mean, I'm just blown away with that stuff. That's the most I've ever seen any airport publish. I know at Centennial they have their own system and they do monthly reports on noise and stuff, but yours is much more in depth. It's amazing. I'm really impressed with that.
Oh, thank you.
Um, I had written a thing at the beginning. If anybody had any questions, please post them in chat. But I think I'm just going to open up the room, and if anybody has any questions, please come forward with them. Okay. All right. I guess I'll ask some more questions then. Um, Data storage, is that stored at the airport in little boxes or whatever you want to call
No,
it?
so our receivers, they filter the data and then they send it immediately to our servers. And so the data at the airport, there's little to none there. Everything
Wow.
is uploaded to our servers pretty quickly.
Okay. And
So, yep.
uh, without giving any propriety information away, how does one differentiate between jet, multi-engine, and single engine?
So all of that data is being put out by your ADSB
Okay.
out system. All of that is in there. Every once in a while, coming out of Boulder, for example, we see a plane that looks like a jet. It's really a glider, and that's mainly because when you have your transponder installed, all of that's got to be programmed. What we're seeing is some of these airplanes aren't programmed quite right, and so it tweaks our system. We will fix that eventually, but yeah, all of that's programmed into your transponder, into your ADSB out system, um, when you get that installed.
Okay. I noticed on one of the overlays you showed us, it looked like a MiG-17 coming out of Boulder.
Yeah, that's the glider tow plane.
Oh boy.
Um,
Mm.
yeah, it's we see it a lot. The ADSB data is not perfect. There's um a lot of coding on our end that takes bad data and tries to make it legit. We know that this is a Cessna, but for some reason they have the weight class as a 3, which is, airline category. So that's what you're seeing there. Those little things will get worked out eventually. Um, but yeah, it's more in the programming when you get your stuff installed.
Okay. If you go to an airport to do an installation of your system, how long does it take before it's up and running?
About an hour. Most of it is
Wow.
head scratching. Everybody's standing around going, where are we going to put it? Once we figure out where we're going to put it, it's pretty simple. There's 2 antennas that got to be installed. So just we send it out with the antenna mounts. They get installed either on an eave or on a pole, eave of a building or a hangar on the pole. Um, there's 2 cables that come down from there, and then um, they go to the receiver, and the receiver gets plugged in. Uh, so it's meant to be installed inside or outside. Um, you know, some of our smaller airports, they're connecting. We can connect via the internet, via cellular, Wi-Fi or Ethernet. So, if you have it inside, hopefully we get a Wi-Fi connection. But if it's out on the windsock, then we're just running cellular, and as long as there's power out there, we plug in and it's good to go. It comes all configured for your runways. We configure it for your pattern altitude, for everything, that we know about your airport comes configured in the box. And so we really think it's easy. I mean, it's meant to be installed by anybody, is how we
Okay.
um
And I assume that the airport manager or whoever's going to keep an eye on this, they have to sign into a certain thing with a password to access the system.
Yeah, it's just like you saw that it's just a, regular website with a username and a password. They see everything that we see. Um,
Mhm.
we get some of the more granular data on our side. But there's also in that system built in, we saw some of those notifications. There's also, if it goes on to battery backup, we know if it loses a Wi-Fi connection, we know about it. If it doesn't check in, we know about it. So we're losing data in this space is not the way to go, and so we have uh, notifications set up so that doesn't happen.
Okay. And I noticed from your presentation and when we talked before, and correct me if I'm wrong, right now it looks like there's 6 GA airports in the state of Colorado that are using your system.
I think there's about 15.
15. Okay.
15,
Wow.
yeah. Let's go back and take a quick peek. Where are we here? Here we go. So we go down here. Yeah, Fort Collins, Boulder, Granby, Kremling, Eagle, Glenwood has got a system that's not quite up yet. That's why you see a little line there. Leadville, Buena Vista, Salida, Del Norte. Who's that? I don't know who that is. Alamosa. We got Kit Carson out here. Who's these guys? Let's see here. Kit Carson, Fremont. Oh, Kit Carson's down there. Fremont. Yeah, so maybe 15, 13, 15
Wow.
more
All
in
right.
there.
Cool.
The beauty of it, Mike, is that what we're doing for the Colorado airports is we're sending these systems out for free until the first of the year.
Okay.
We're trying to, obviously we're trying to get our name out there, but we're also trying to give these airports a way to demo the system on site. And then on the first of the year, CDOT will start paying for them. So essentially it's free forever. And we're trying to hook up Colorado, put us on the forefront again with all this stuff.
Okay. Have you demoed this for Colorado Aviation Division?
Yeah, the CDOT, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
Cool.
they know all about it. That multiple airport page that was developed after we talked to them. But yeah, they know about it. Again, they will be sending out something to all the airports in November about the funding process, how it's going to work. But they're gonna pay for all of these systems at every airport that wants it, and we think it's a great idea to have it all. So.
Wow. Okay. Have you ventured into any other states?
So we just got one down in Alabama. Virginia's got a couple going. Florida has got our little airport down there has got one. Michigan has got one, and Montana has got one.
Wow. Very
Yeah,
cool.
we're in one of the RAF airports in Montana,
Okay. Good.
demoing it there. So
Okay.
another big focus, I think, for us and for me in the future, particularly, is these backcountry strips. Kind of keep things open. If we can show usage, if we can show the type of usage, we can keep all these things open for everybody to enjoy, and that's a huge thing especially for me with the backcountry airplane and everything else.
Okay. We have a question from a viewer. Will Broomfield be added anytime soon?
If I can get hold of Broomfield, I would love to help them out. It's sometimes it's amazingly hard to get an airport manager on the phone and and get them to listen for a little bit, especially when they think you're trying to sell them something. And I get it, I get it for sure. But I would love to help Broomfield, Rocky Mountain Metro. Yeah, those guys would be great. We see a lot of Longmont traffic and Rocky Mountain traffic with the system in Boulder. But yeah, to put one on those airports would be great. I would love to.
How about Centennial?
Centennial, I believe they went with a competitor of mine. I think, yeah, I think they went with a competitor of mine about a year ago.
Okay.
Again, though, I would love to. We love competing with these guys. I think we got a better system. So, you know, if we can get next to them and go side by side with some of these other guys, I think it's a no brainer. So, yeah, getting hold of those guys again. If I could get in there, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah. From what I just saw tonight, I'm like, whoa, that's
Yeah,
a
and that's half of it is letting people know what's available. A lot of people, just like you, they don't really know that this stuff is even available out there. So, get it out there. And again, I think it helps the pilots. I think it helps us all. Protect us, protect our airports. Be good neighbors. That's really where we're at.
okay. Cool. All right. I don't see any more questions on chat. Anybody out there have any questions for Justin? Current reports, software, hardware. All right, I'm just reviewing my stuff that I wrote down here. I think you've answered everything I had written down. I think my biggest question was who has access to the data? Can I just go on the site and say, hey, let's see what's going on here?
Yeah, no, that's not happening.
Okay, good. All right. Software, hardware. Okay, good. Yeah, storage. All right, good. All right. Would this system, you talked about backcountry. I read a little bit about BLM wanting to close backcountry airstrips.
Yeah,
Is that, and I think part of it was usage. They're not being used or they're not being maintained. Um, Installing your system in these backcountry airstrips, is that kind of, I don't want to say that's where you want to put a lot of it, but that would help in the discussion with BLM. Is that correct?
it would. I think it would definitely help. What we see, especially at some of the smaller airports, Kremling is where we have most of the data. You know, when we showed up, they were guessing about 1,800 operations a year. Last year they did somewhere around 5,400. Um, that's in 3 years. That's not. They did grow. I give them that. They grew. They're doing a lot better than they were. But that's not all growth. That's bad estimates. I think we would see the same thing in these backcountry airports. You know, there's a lot of times where, you ask somebody and they say, well, yeah, nobody's landed here in a week, but really there was 15 operations and those guys were, at the store or whatever. They're not out there all the time looking. So I think we would definitely see an uptick in all the usage of these backcountry strips. And if we didn't, it just proves that, nobody is using that. And maybe maybe that's resources that we can put somewhere else.
Okay.
So again, it's efficiency in how we spend our resources. Obviously, we don't get all the money we want for all these airports. So best put it, where it's needed.
Okay. Question just came in. How do you collect data from backcountry airports?
So the backcountry ones, it's a little bit tougher, right? Because the ADS, a lot of the backcountry planes, the Cubs, especially the smaller ones, the guys that don't fly anywhere but backcountry, a lot of them don't have the ADS-B systems. We have some solutions, so we don't see those planes right now. The non-ADS-B equipped airplanes, we don't see them. Down in the Denver metro area, we don't. It's not an issue. There's not a ton of airplanes that don't have that stuff, but in the backcountry there is. We have some solutions in mind to help with that. To see the guys, not necessarily see exactly their tail numbers, but to know, hey, somebody did land. We have some solutions in mind to capture that. On the hardware side, most likely, if they don't have power out there, most likely it'll be solar equipped, more batteries. Right now, we don't have that fully figured out, but it's coming. And then instead of cellular, it's going to have to be satellite. Elon's doing a lot with the Wi-Fi and the satellite stuff there, so that might be an option. There's other options to get it up, kind of like we have the Garmin inReaches, kind of the same sort of system, and we just batch send that. So it would be a little bit different system, but it's definitely doable. It's on the agenda after we get through some of these things out in front of us for some of the bigger airports.
Okay. I'm not that familiar with backcountry flying because I don't do it, but do most backcountry planes have a transponder?
I would say most, but not all. For
Okay.
sure, the guys that are flying into the backcountry, the guys and gals flying in the backcountry, more of those airports or airplanes percentage wise will not have ADS-B than what we see. If you're flying around Denver area, you almost have to have it. Right? There's so much airspace. You can't get within 30 miles of Denver. You can't go above 10,000 feet. There's all sorts of stuff that you have to have it to fly in. So around us, most people have it. Backcountry guys, you're flying around in the mountains of Idaho all day long. You don't necessarily need it. Some of them never have it. I got a lower plane in Florida. I don't have it. But we're working our way around that a little bit. We'll probably do something. Well, I don't want to say now because I don't want to promise anything we're not going to do. But we have ideas on how to solve some of that.
Right. Well, what I was thinking about is before the ADSB, you had your I don't standard transponder where you would, put out 1200, and that's what I was thinking would be the other option for the backcountry planes, just 1200 rather than having the ADSB with a discrete code.
Right. And so there's a system called MLAT. The MLAT, what it does is triangulates your transponder. So you have to have 3 or 4 receivers in the area. That's doable. But it's a lot of equipment for not a ton of airplanes. I see Brian down there saying he's got 10 that don't have ADSB. That's if we could capture those easier, I would love to. It's not as easy as it's said, right? And so it is a limitation of our system. We don't see those planes right now.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. So I imagine your software and your hardware is proprietary.
Yeah, we designed it in-house, both the hardware and the software.
Very good. Very
It's all
cool.
ours, yeah.
Oh, okay. Here's another question. If a number of aircraft don't have ADSB, how does this influence the data you collect?
So yeah, so we as of right now we don't see those airplanes. They don't
Okay.
register on the counts. Um, we just don't see them. If your airport has a bunch of non-ADSB airplanes, the best thing to do is to just add what you think that they're adding to the airport. What do you think those counts are, and add that to our numbers. But we're at this point we're not seeing those.
Well, I'm impressed. I'm going to the people that I meet at the meetings that I attend, I will mention this to them.
Yeah, and that's kind of we came on here. We wanted to educate people about what we have, and we want to help Colorado. So, if we can help you guys out in any way, give me a shout. Everything's on the website.
Okay.
It goes right to my cell phone. You talk to me directly, and yeah, we'll work something out.
Okay. All right. Well, I really appreciate it, Justin, for coming on board. And thank you, Justin. I appreciate it. Everybody that signed in tonight, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. I was really hoping I'd be able to get on your website and do all that stuff that you did tonight, because that was really cool. It really opened my eyes. I've not seen anybody's software do that to date. So that was really good.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Hopefully we'll remain in touch here. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening. I appreciate it.